Hi, my name is David, and this is the Holiday Hack Challenge 2024 Act 2. And this is the second challenge in Act 2, which is called the Drone Path. And this is a rather difficult challenge, both the silver and the gold version of it. But overall, it's a very entertaining one. So let's check it out. So the challenge itself has the difficulty level of 3 out of 5. The previous one was just 2, and I think this is a step up in terms of difficulty level, but it is absolutely solvable. And the challenge asks us to talk to Chimney Scissor Sticks. Accessing this elf is a bit tricky because the elves started really taking this whole conflict very seriously, and there is now a fence. Through the tunnel system, we are able to get here. We could talk to the elf through the fence as well, but it's more fun to use the toilet tunnel framework. So we can, for example, get to here, if I'm not mistaken. And then we need to jump down. We have the Great Elf conflict here. I think that's the snowball fight game. And we have here Chimney, who is, by the way, I think voiced by Johannes Olik, if I'm not mistaken. Even though the elf voices are distorted, I think if you listen to the Internet Storm Center podcasts enough, you will recognize his voice. And I think last year Johannes also created a challenge that was the Captain's radio station, which was very similar to this one. A lot of steps, and the hints are hidden. They're built inside of the challenge itself. So from the elf, you just get some useful hints on the tools that you could use, for example, Google Earth and Python. And we're going to work with KML files and drone byte path logs, which will later convert to KML files actually. So there's a lot of manipulation of those files, and the terminal itself is just going to open up the web application where you will have to work your way through the challenge. So I took the address of this website, just opened it in a separate window. I think it's just easier to navigate through a browser window. Now this challenge has a menu here, which if you open up a terminal, then it's under the hamburger menu, and probably it's easier to find it here. But once you figure that one out, I would suggest just to move here. This is the home screen. Gives you some explanation on what you can find here. So you can upload the drone logs here, and then you can check the logs. There is a login screen, which we do not really have any access to. And there's a file share with one KML file, one available KML file. Let me try to download this one. This is the one where I already solved the challenge. So let me just go to a new empty directory. Here we go. So I'm going to save it here and just name it back to the original format. There we go. We have a KML file, and KML files are typically associated with Google Earth. So often people will have KML files that you can load into Google Earth. There's a bunch of coordinates here, and we can take this file and upload it to Google Earth. I just used the web version of Google Earth. You can also install Google Earth if you like to. And here you can import a file to a project. It's going to be the file here. And once you import it in, dismiss all the notifications, a very, very obvious clue is presented. Gum drop 1. I think it's all uppercase, so you can see it probably. and this is potentially either a username or a password. Now, if we go back to the application on the login screen, we need a username and a password, but the file share here contains something that looks like a sort of username. So what I did, I just tried to take the username of Fritjof or something like that. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. And then drop one as a password. And you can see that the login is successful. I'm going to save these credentials, and now we can search a drone. Unfortunately, we don't really know any drone names yet, but here, if we check the menu, we have now new items on the menu. This workshop one is where we can search for a drone. We have our profile here. Now you can mess around here, and this elf profile picture, you will be able to find other elves profile pictures as well. But under the profile, there is a CSV file here. Preparations drone name.csv. That sounds promising. I'm going to save that file here. That's a CSV file though. We can open the CSV file too. And check it out here. It does contain multiple columns with the date. There is also something with like name. There's camera file name, recover aircraft name, aircraft name again, and I think probably the better representation of this file would be in, for example, Excel format. I'll try to zoom in so you can read it. Oh, it's a little bit too much though. Let's go with let's say 150%. So we can see a bunch of columns here, and we have way over 100 columns. And in terms of name, if you look at aircraft name, this is dolphin.exe. I think it's some sort of emulator, if I'm not mistaken, but I couldn't really figure out anything. So this is not going to give you the name of the drone. But given that this looks like some sort of drone flight log, I was looking for online tools that can display the logs, and I found a couple of tools, but none of them were really giving me any good results. So I kind of left it here, and instead a search for a tool that can convert CSVs to KML. And this one here, I'll put the URL in the description of the video later. And so this site allows you to upload a file. So you can take the preparations CSV file, and it converts this to something that kind of looks like KML. So I downloaded the results, saved it, and afterwards, well, I was trying different things here. Oh no, I'm actually confusing it. So here it's kind of straightforward, because you can just go and let me see, view all projects. So we have this project here, which gives us a gumdrop. The next one is just uploading this KML. Yeah, there's a multi-step process here to solve the challenge, and I was mixing up this step with the next one, which will be even more challenging. But we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different coordinates, which is Australia, and this is Victoria, actually, if I'm not mistaken. Been there only once, just very briefly, flying through Melbourne, but looked very, very interesting. from the plane at least. So if we zoom in on the coordinates, initially it's kind of hard to figure out anything, but as you look at the coordinates, for example, I think this one is even harder, but this one, okay, you start looking at the patterns here, right? And it's like, okay, this looks like a letter L. So this one is either a dash or an I. Initially, I thought that this was an I. It's actually a dash. And then you go and check some of the other ones, and those are even more obvious because that is definitely the letter F. Okay, so these are shapes that look like letters. And going back to the previous one, that's actually the letter H, right? Can you see it? So that's H. Had a dash, or at this point it can be an I as well. This one an L. This was F. This one here looks like a W, right? And then there's another one. There's one. This is the letter E for sure. Easy. We have two more. That's a letter A. Looks like kind of the Avengers logo from the Marvel movies. And the last one, I'm not really sure, but it kind of looks like a K here, huh? Okay, so to sum it up, the letters that we have, let me just go to my notes, was H dash L F E W A and K. Now, because I initially thought that the dash was an I, and I recognized Johannes Ulrich, the voice of Johannes Ulrich, I thought that it's probably spells Hilfe, and then which is help, but in German. And then I was left with A, W, and K. I thought that that might be awk, you know, the Unix tool or something. But I couldn't really figure out anything here. So I had all these letters or symbols, and I was supposed to do something, well, either here on the admin console or here under the workshop part. So for probably like an hour, I was poking around, trying different things. And let me just bring up the tools here, including the console. So I was trying different things, you know, this is a web application. So based on last year's challenge, which was very much web application based with manipulating JVD tokens, I was thinking that maybe this one, you know, has some sort of a web application vulnerability here. And I tried things like, you know, sending in a dash or something here on the admin verification part, or here under the workshop part. And this one was looking much more interesting. So the admin one didn't really give us anything interesting, but here our get request, I'm not sure if you can see it, but let me zoom in. So our get request, when we send in a drone equals, and then this is just URL encoded, the quote, it gives us an internal server error. That's very interesting. So if I'm getting back a 500 internal server error when I'm sending in a single quote to a form, I'll be very, very excited in that case, because that means it might be something like a SQL injection vulnerability. And here we're supposed to provide a name of a drone, but what if we provide an input that returns the entire data set? Like, it will not match just one single drone name, but it will create a SQL query in the backend that validates as a true statement and returns all the entries. So this is my favorite one. So single quote space or space A in single quotes equals single quote A. And when we search for it, we get a bunch of drone names here. And turns out, probably not see it, but let me just zoom in. Elf Hawk with a dash between is the letters that we found. So I couldn't really figure this one out. Tried a bunch of combinations. There's way too many combinations to like brute force this, but you could in theory brute force it. Basically looking for this vulnerability, which is a SQL injection. Apparently, you are able to get the Elf Hawk drone name. Okay, so that means we have this drone and also the others. So Elf Hawk gives back some explanation here and also a CSV file. Let's save this one real quick. And there is a hint here that the activation code is hidden inside this file. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Now, I also wanted to check out the other drones here. So for example, this one is actually the pigeon lookalike, so I don't need to query this one separately, but you could just go and take these names. So the pigeon lookalike also gives us an extra hint. At this point, we have no idea that this is actually a hint. And I was not even looking at the descriptions until I got silver, because I was kind of just following the trail. You know, if the first one, let me just get the SQL injection again. So if the first one here, Elf Hawk, returns a new CSV file, I'm just jumping at that one and I just tried to use it. But later, the information returned by the pigeon lookalike v4 is actually going to be very, very useful. So we'll get back to this with the gold challenge. I'll go through here one more time when we do the gold challenge, because this one has some significance. Now, again, looking at the CSV file that we just downloaded, actually, we probably will be able to see why the hint returned by the pigeon lookalike is actually a useful one. So we see here a much larger file. We have over 3,270 something ish lines, and again a bunch of columns. Now, again, keep in mind these ones here. So we have a lot of true and false. Actually, towards the bottom, there's just false, 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 all the way down. You know, not turtles, but just false all the way down. And this can be interesting later, but at this point, I wasn't really looking at the data. I was just hoping that maybe the same trick will, I'm gonna leave this one here actually. The same trick would yield some results. So I'm gonna clear the input here and take this CSV file. Okay, sure. Go with the recommended cookies. I don't think they use cookies because this keeps popping up, by the way. There's a very good comic strip. This side does not use cookies, and you cannot accept cookies because the side doesn't use cookies. I think it's hilarious if you know a bit of HTTP. And we get a bunch of warning messages here, but eventually there is something that looks like a KML. So let's download the results and save it. Okay, just like before, I should be able to take this and upload this to Google Earth. And let's just do that. Now we're zooming out and we have, let me just get the layers here. Let's pick, for example, a clean one and just a map instead of a satellite. And we can also turn off the buildings and whatnot. So very, very simple Earth here. And we can see some patterns, but it looks kind of weird. I can't really see any letters or something. Just a lot of lines here. So I was thinking maybe this is not meant to look in a 3D format, so I went to my maps and tried to create a map. Now here, when you create a map, you can, I think, just import a CSV or a KML. I'm gonna try the KML. Not that it really matters, by the way. So it's just a bunch of coordinates. Okay, so here it looks already better. Like I can recognize this is probably an A here, right? And this is a T. Unfortunately, there's no like a good way to display all these nicely, but there are definitely like T's here. That's an A. Maybe that's also an A. I'm not really sure. So I tried to zoom in and out. Also, you can like try to squeeze the map and see if that one gives you better results. But not really, right? So this is still not the desired effect, I would say. But close. So we probably need to display this in 2D. It's just not the best tool probably to display it in two-dimensional. But we're getting closer. Okay, so not Google Earth. At least I couldn't really figure out a good way. So we can probably manipulate the data. I was kind of stuck on this again for probably an hour until I could figure out a way, and that was kind of looking into Discord and see what other people's were using, and someone mentioned this tool. So I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. QGIS or something like that. You can download an installer. Just go to downloads. And I just took the Windows version here, but there are plenty of other platforms. And the installer is 1.2 gigabytes, so it's kind of heavy. I installed it in a virtual machine because I was not feeling like installing this on my laptop, to be honest. And once you start it up, there's not much in terms of like KML related things. But I think next to someone mentioning this tool, they also mentioned that you can install the plugin, KML plugin. So I went under plugins, and if you search for KML, they actually have KML tools. Yay! So I installed that. Instead of uninstall, you would have like an install here, or reinstall probably. And this allows you to then import a KML. So this tool is very straightforward to use. You just go install the plugin, then select the KML, and then run it, and that's it. That's just outright giving you the result. Drone data analyst expert medal. Easy, easy. Now the only question is, what am I supposed to do with this string? But for me, this was rather intuitive, because the only place we haven't been so far was the admin console. We couldn't really exploit this. And I tried the drone data analyst expert medal here. And when we submitted, get success code accepted. And if we go to the game, hopefully, yep, we have the achievement. Alrighty. That's hardware hacking. Okay, where is the drone path? Silver. Okay, so we have the silver achievement with this. And we can talk to Chimney Scissor Sticks. And tells us about checking those file structures carefully. Injection flaw might give you the upper hand. Keep your eyes sharp. That is the hint. Now, if you remember, I mentioned that under the workshop part with the injection, the pigeon lookalike, this is just by coincidence. If you run the attack, you would just get one random comment. The pigeon lookalike says, heard rumor Only true carvers would find secrets and that false ones would never find it. So notice how true and false is written all caps. And if we go back here, we have a bunch of values with true and false all caps. All right, so I'm gonna do all the transformations here because I spent hours on this and it's really easy to make a mistake here. Or just overlook something. So you really should keep your eyes sharp, I guess, as the little elf told us. So what if we just go and keep these values? True and false, we can represent these with numbers as binary. So true can be 1, false can be 0, for example. So what if we just keep these columns that contain that? Maybe that gives us something. That was my initial thought process. Okay, so these are all not true or false, so I'm gonna delete these. Also going to delete these columns. Oh, there's our first true or false column. And then these two we do not need. These are good. These are not true and false. Delete this one. And of course you could do this programmatically. I find this one easy enough so that we just do it in a manual fashion. Okay, we're gonna delete these as well. And altogether, if I'm doing everything correctly, we should have 58 columns with true and false values. I'm going to count those, making sure that I didn't make a mistake. If I did, then the manual process, of course, is a bit error prone. Okay, let's check how many do I have so far. Okay, just a quick check. 33 so far, not bad, not bad. Okay, let's delete these battery levels as well. Let's delete these ones, and all this is just based on what we see in the data and the hint that we have found while exploiting the SQL injection vulnerability, which was also referred by the elf. These. Actually, let me just zoom out. I can delete a bit more at once. Okay, delete this one. Delete these ones. These are true or false. False, true, false. Okay, good, good, good. Good. And it seems like, oh no, we still have a few more. I'm gonna delete these ones as well. These. This one too. These ones as well. No true or false here. And let me just take a look at my notes here. So serial camera is the last column here. After that, we do not have any values in the rows, but we do see, probably I should resize here the columns. We do see a couple false, false, true, false, true, false, false. So I cannot just go and delete these. Instead, let's just do a quick check here. So if I, for example, go and mark the true values, we have 28 true values. And if I mark all the false, that's 30. So 28 plus 30, that is 58. Exactly the number of columns containing true or false values, which means in the first line, I also have important values. Now, initially, I completely overlooked this, completely overlooked it. And as a result, I was paying a price because when I tried to decode these binaries, they didn't give me anything. It was just gibberish. So we also need to take care of the first column here. I'm going to close this one so it does not confuse us. And we have a couple of fields that we do not need. So these are not true or false values. I'm gonna just delete this one, I'll leave it empty, and then keep on deleting here the columns. Probably that's the easiest way to just keep track where we are currently. So that's false, false true. These. Okay, now we have a bunch of those binary values here. Delete. I'm gonna delete this one as well. One false. Delete. And I believe this is the no, there's still more. These are just empty columns apparently. Let me do a quick check, see how many of the necessary values do we already have. 37. Okay, so there's still plenty more to go. I'm gonna delete this one and these two. These are again all binary values. And apparently that's also the end of the music list. So let me just start from the top. Okay. We don't need these ones. Or these ones. These ones, I guess. Let's see. So this should give us 58. Very good. Okay. So I can take all these 58 values and just place it on top. All right. This looks pretty good. We're looking pretty good. Next step. Now we can also realize that towards the bottom it's just zeros, like lots and lots and lots of zeros. So we should find approximately where we start having just zeros at the end, and we can cut off most of it. I would say somewhere around like here. So the rest we can totally cut. Just get to the bottom of it. Highlight these and just delete them. Let's see. There's a cable on the way. I cannot see all the sides of my screen. Okay, so this will make the conversion much faster. Let's now change the values from true and replace them with a 1. Right, and then for false, let's change them to 0. Alrighty. That looks pretty good. Starting to look pretty good. There we go. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is just format these, right? I'm going to take all these values. Put them in a file. Now I can get rid of the tab character. And I can also get rid of the new line characters. Let's see if we're finding those. Yes, okay, so then replace them all. All right. This is pretty good looking. Hopefully my Notepad++ will cooperate with us. So we have a total length of 42,050. Let me get a quick calculator up here. 50 divided by 8. Oops. So that means that if I multiply this by 8. Sorry, not this one. By 8. That means I need to add 6 more bits to have a complete byte. This is just for, prudency's sake. You don't really have to do this, or I could delete 2 more zeros. Let's do just 2 more zeros here. Okay, so that should give us the right number, right? Yeah. All right, cool. Now I can take all these, do a Control A, and get to everyone's favorite tool, CyberChef, paste it in, and normally if I do from binary here, this should convert the results to something that looks like an ASCII art. I'm not really sure, but I think this is one of the little drones that you can see, not this side here. So it kind of looks like these ones above me. Look, now I'm a person who's just pointing at things above my head. So this looks like one of those little drones, nice ASCII art, and below all of that, we have code word equals expert Turkey carver metal, I think. That means that we should just take this one to the admin console. Now this is all uppercase. I tried to submit different variations of it and just capitalizing the words, but it's just all uppercase without any spaces or anything. So just like this. Submit in, and then going back to the game. Big success. The gold medal is rewarded for the drone path objectives. We have the gold trophy here, and we can talk to the elf and discuss the details about SQL injections and such. So that was the gold trophy of the challenge. Pretty complex challenge overall. As I was explaining, you probably were thinking that, okay, that doesn't look that tough, but actually there's a lot of small little details that you need to pay attention to, otherwise you won't be able to get the results. For example, finding that tool that just displays the coordinate pins in a flat view was a really important step, and took me a while to find the solution. The problem with the first line for the gold trophy one was also blocking me for a while, because it was fairly obvious that, okay, this is binary, I just convert the values, but then I didn't get anything meaningful. And that's because they also had a one line in the first line with the headers, which contained valuable data that you also have to include. Overall, pretty nice little challenge. Now for the next one, I still need to go and solve it, but tomorrow it will be released. If you're just watching the videos later, then, well, you can just go to the next video, and that's gonna be PowerShell.